A new Pew Research Study poll is sort of fascinating. It says that by an 18% margin, more Americans would likely support a philandering, pot-smoking president than an atheist president. That is extremely...
In fairness, Dave,
yeah.
I would also support a philandering president who smoked pot. Before I supported an atheist, it'd be more fun. Guys smoking pot, getting laid in the Oval. I want to see that guy.
You want to see that guy?
So that's why it's a flawed question.
He's the kind of guy you'd want to have a beer with.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm pretty sure we had a philandering, pot-smoking president. Wasn't that Bill Clinton?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was.
People
right?
loved him.
Let's break down some of the numbers for you. While 35% of the respondents say they would be less likely to support a presidential candidate who had an extramarital affair, 53% of Americans indicated that not believing in God, the trait viewed most negatively of the 16 tested, would make them unsupportive of a candidate. And while 70% of Republicans and 42% of Democrats expressed opposition to an atheist candidate, 49% of Democrats viewed a potential candidate's atheism as irrelevant. So let's just start with the atheism before stuff first. I guess there's a little glimmer of hope there, right? That half the Democrats basically said that they would be okay with an atheist. There's a little hope.
That's crazy that only half of the Democrats.
And that seems pretty low to you?
Yeah, it seems low to me. I mean, the reality is there's still a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to atheists. I think that they think that they're like Satan worshipers or something. We live in Los Angeles where there's a lot of diversity and there are a lot of open-minded people, but you know, I got to remember that I live in a bubble, and in the middle of America, there are still a lot of people that are deeply religious, and they're afraid of things that they don't know about. And there's a lot of misinformation about atheists. I think another problem might be the fact that a lot of atheists, when they're trying to get their message across, I think that they come off as, and I think it's unintentional, by the way, they come off as, I'm smarter than you, I'm better than you. And when you come off that way, you know, your points don't register with people.
So do you think that's like the Bill Maher theory? Because I think that's what a lot of people say about him, because he's sort of the poster boy, right, for atheists. And I think a lot of people say, well, he comes off as smug, like he's so brilliant. But isn't it partly because if you're dealing in reality?
Hard to not come off smug.
If you're the minority and you're dealing in reality, well, sometimes you have to fight a little bit more, and maybe it comes off as a little bit more smug. Take it away, you smug bastard.
Well, you know, but they ask this question, but they go, well, would you rather vote for this candidate or an atheist? They go, oh, I wouldn't vote for an atheist. But if you were to ask them in 2007, would you vote for a guy named Bob O'Reilly or a guy with a Muslim name who was African American? They would have said, I would never vote for a Muslim. But it depends on the candidate, right? I think, you know, if George Clooney was the atheist running, I think there'd be a lot more people inclined to vote for George Clooney as opposed to not vote. You know what I mean? So I think that it's the candidate which changes people's minds about an issue. And I think if we got a popular candidate who was attractive and could communicate well, I think that he would change people's minds about atheism.
You think so?
I think it depends on the candidate. Yeah, I think it does depend. Look, my point about Barack Obama being a black guy with a Muslim name and people still voted for him over what they got to know him. They weren't afraid of it anymore. Once you get to know an atheist, once you get to know Jimmy Dore, you can't help but love him.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Obama came in a really unique time in America. People wanted radical change, right? So I think that it was a great opportunity for him to come in and take advantage of it. But in terms of atheism, again, I think that a lot of Americans just don't understand what it is. I don't think that they're educated on it. I think they're afraid of it. I think it really, and you know, the second point I made about atheists coming off as smug, I mean, I think that's to a much lesser degree. I think the real issue, again, is that people are just afraid of what they don't know. And by the way, I consider myself an atheist, so it's not like I'm sitting here on my soapbox talking shit about atheists. I just think that we can be a little more effective in our communication.
Yeah. Doesn't this go to the heart of why politics and religion are so screwed up? Like, to me, I always think it's crazy that the president swears in on the Bible, even though we have separation of church and state. Shouldn't the president put his hand on the Constitution?
I would like that.
Isn't that just the most obvious thing ever? This is the book, this is the document you're supposed to be honoring, not the Bible. Because there are many things in the Bible that have nothing to do with our laws, but the Constitution, I think, has something to do with our laws. Right?
Dave, you make a point, it's hard to refute. I can't, you got a case closed.